Let's get to the NBA, though, because it was a wild weekend. Friday night gave us some results that made Sunday seem like can't-miss TV. And the Pelicans went from the 6th seed to the 7th seed, now playing the play-in game. And, oh, yeah, by the way, the team that played in the play-in game was the team that just smoked them yesterday in the Lakers. The Lakers have this interesting kind of conundrum, right? If they win, so here's how it works for the play-in game. If you're the 7 or the 8 seed, if you win that first game, you don't have to play a second game. You win, you're in. Whereas the Kings and Warriors, they have to win 2 in order to get in. 2. So the Lakers lose, and they still get another opportunity. And that if they win, the congratulations, you get the Denver Nuggets. And because the Oklahoma City Thunder, because of how it all went down, they end up getting the 1 seed. So the Nuggets get the 2 seed. So the 7 seed gets the Nuggets. But if they lose and then they win, they get the 1 seed, which is the Thunder, and everyone knows they match up better with the Thunder. Plus, the Thunder are young, haven't done the playoffs, and the Lakers are a team built more on their size. The size and physicality will likely affect the Thunder more in the playoffs than it does the Nuggets, who are a bigger team anyway. They start 6'10", 7 foot across the front line. So what do you do? Right? If you're this, and this does come down to what type of person you are. If you're risk averse, you're like, let's go out, beat the Pelicans again, get to the playoffs. We'll worry about the Nuggets when we're in. But if you don't, it's crazy. You have a very likely better chance of advancing out of the first round, and who knows how far else, because you don't know. Right now, we believe the Nuggets will be at full strength for Game 1 and have Jamal Murray back. But as games get played, then there's the opportunity for them to get injuries, you to get injuries. Anything can happen. So it is different to play the Nuggets in the conference finals than it is to play the Nuggets in the first. Because you might not play the Nuggets in the conference finals, but you might not get to the playoffs if you lose the first game. That's a hard one. That does come down to, are you a risk? If you're a risk-averse person, you just go for it, all in, and win Tuesday night. If you're not, you roll the dice. And look, there is some of this. Some of this is not really up to your discretion. Right? Some of it is, do the Pelicans decide, hey, we don't want to win, or we want to go get this thing. I think normally I would do everything in my power to avoid the Nuggets. In this scenario, because you have an older team, you want to play less games, I win that first game. Make sure that I'm in. Jay Stu, what would you do? You're in the situation of the LA Lakers. If they lose, they can play and play for a chance to play the 1 seed as the 8 seed and take on the Oklahoma City Thunder. If they win, they just get the Denver Nuggets, who dominated them last year, and common conception is they'll dominate them again this year. What do you do?
I'm going to pull you, Doug, and I'm going to say a coin a phrase, and I don't know where it came from, and I frankly don't even know what it means, but I'm going to just say it. Maybe it applies. I never whisper into the devil's ear. You know what that means?
I think I do. I think it means, why would I take the risk of losing, of not making the playoffs, because I want to avoid somebody who's in the playoffs?
Yeah. Saying something out loud or overtly trying to do something to try to gain a result, I think is just a dangerous way to do it in sports and in life.
Okay. What about you there, Sam? What would you do? Oh, and Dan Byer, you too.
Sam, you want to go ahead, or you want me to take this? All right, it's going to allow me to pass the hot potato. I just play it out as it is. If that's Jason's point, listen, there's a lot of things that have to go right for the Lakers to be able to make a run. And if you start trying to set it up in a way where, like, okay, we win here, we lose here, it's not going to work out. Take your medicine, try to win the game. If you got Denver, you got Denver. But I would not try to game any system for what you feel would be a quote unquote better matchup.
Sam, where are you on it?
Yeah, what Dan said.
So everybody's in the going for it thing, right? Go for it, go win the game. I think the problem is you fear the Warriors and the Kings as much as you fear the Pelicans. Because if you want to get out of the playoff, you want to get out of the first round of the playoffs, the Nuggets are not the path. So it is a little bit of damned if you do, damned if you don't. But I definitely try and win that game, knowing that the second game would not be just. If the second game was a cinch, if it was the Hawks without Trae Young, then yeah, absolutely. But those two teams are good, and they present a very different matchup. They're better than the Warriors, but the Warriors are still the Warriors, and what would the league do? Like, imagine you have LeBron and Steph facing off. The loser goes home. Like, if the league can go like, hey, is there a way we can create more playoff spots? I think it's smart to whisper in the devil's ear. I just think in the context of this particular one, because the Lakers are older, they need less games. I don't think they have a particular. I do think they have a shot against Oklahoma City, but man, is that risky. And they may end up. There's a chance the Pelicans win that game anyway. So pleased to be joined by Ric Bucher, FoxSports.com and Fox Sports 1, and of course joining us now on Fox Sports Radio. Buke, it was a wild and kind of confusing last weekend between the Friday games and the Sunday games. Yeah. Put it together for me. What happened this weekend?
Well, we had a little bit of jockeying, I believe. Certainly, the Cleveland Cavaliers looked like they did that. And then we just had some questions raised about exactly who is what, starting with the Golden State Warriors and a home loss to the New Orleans Pelicans that they clearly very much hope to win, to avoid having to now win, two road playoff games in order to make the playoffs. So it's why I love the play-in, to be honest with you, because I think it's one, it's done a great job of curbing tanking, and two, we'd be looking at the prospect of the Warriors and the Lakers and the Sixers and the Heat all already having been eliminated. And so now we have this intrigue of young teams that showed what they're capable of in the regular season, but we're still waiting to see exactly, can they take the next step in the postseason? And we have some veteran teams that are now in position to still test that and see if they have one more run in them. So, the short answer is there was a few things that were settled over the weekend, but there's more that's still yet to be settled in the next couple days.
You know what? It's so okay. Will the Lakers lose in the first play-in game to avoid the Nuggets?
I have a hard time believing that they would do that for a couple of reasons. One, they're the early game, so they don't know who they would be playing in the second game, and they went 0-4 against the Sacramento Kings during the regular season and lost by an average of 11 points. Now I know the playoffs are different, but fact of the matter is they have not looked like they're capable of competing with the Kings, getting up and down and playing their style. And I would still think that would give you second thoughts about dropping a game against the New Orleans Pelicans. And even against the Warriors, they lost, if I'm correct, they lost 3 or 4. So I just think it's a dangerous, dangerous proposition. I understand the idea that you're going to, you haven't had a whole lot of success against Denver, and you would be avoiding them. But it's not as if the Lakers have been some unbelievable juggernaut, and injury was just the only thing that kept them from being, a 55-win team or whatever. You're going to have to face. If you think of yourself as having a chance at winning a championship, you're going to have to face Denver Nuggets at some point. And it's not, I do not believe in this idea that let's find a road where we can avoid them for as long as possible and extend our playoff when you're in no way guaranteed that that's actually going to happen.
All right, Phoenix comes from the play-in to swoop in and grab that 6th spot. How do they match up with Minnesota?
Boy, interesting matchup, because obviously Minnesota has the size that I don't know how Phoenix is going to handle that. But in talking to execs and scouts about upset potential, after the Milwaukee Bucks, the feeling was that the Minnesota Timberwolves were the next likeliest top team among the top 3 in either conference that was susceptible to getting upset. So that's a tough one. I'm thinking that the Phoenix Suns are on a little bit of a roll here and are going to that their experience and their firepower is going to win out, but they're going up against the number 1 defense in the league for a reason. And my question is, does Minnesota, I'm not a believer that Anthony Edwards is the anointed star that everybody's making him out to be. I think he's a great talent, but he hasn't demonstrated to me that he's ready to be the go-to player on a team that goes to the next level in the postseason.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Dallas and the Clippers. Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know anybody's playing better than Dallas, but there have been times when the Clippers look like the best team in the league, and one of them is going to be home after the first round of the playoffs.
Yeah. I got off the Clippers train at the beginning of the season, and there's nothing that has happened during the course of this year that has convinced me to get back on it. Still a question of Kawhi Leonard and his health, but I just, when things go a little sideways, who are you relying on to steady the ship? No, certainly not Paul George. I've been just appalled at how talented he is, and yet you see in need situations, he'll turn over the ball not once but twice, forcing things that aren't there. And that's been just a regular occurrence. No, there's been no evolution there. And so, and I don't know what I'm going to get from James Harden on night to night. It's the same reason that I have questions about the Boston Celtics for as great as their regular season record is. It's like, who's the leader? Who's the guy? Who's the player? Who's the person who steadies the ship? Who says, "This is, let's go. This is what we have to do in this particular situation in order to get through it." I don't see that player. I mean, I would say to you, who's the leader of the Los Angeles Clippers? Who's the leader of the Boston Celtics? I don't really know who that is. I know who people say it is, but I don't know who it is.
Yeah, no, it's an incredible question. Incredible question. Okay, so who's actually who do you think gives the Nuggets the toughest time?
I actually think that the Phoenix Suns have the capability of giving them the toughest time because of the matchup with Nurk and Jokic. He's the one body, the one guy who has a familiarity with him, and I think we've seen this in a couple of matchups during the regular season that can at least make him work a little bit. What I've really liked about Jokic, and one of the reasons why he's going to be at the top of my MVP ballot for the first time ever this year, is because I've seen him impose his will. I've seen him bully people. I've seen one of the classic plays they have is he just pounds his way to the middle of the paint, draws that second defender, and then he's just throwing up a lob for Aaron Gordon to finish. I didn't always see him do that consistently in the past, and I always thought it was there for him to do it, and I thought that would just wilt opposing teams. Not only that, but just take it out of front lines of the opposition. Nurk is the one guy who is able to deal with that at least a little bit. And then obviously you have all that scoring on the perimeter. I still think that they need it'd be better if they had a true point guard somewhere on that roster. But just in terms of matchups, the Phoenix Suns can present some wrinkles that force the Denver Nuggets to make adjustments to their game in a way that I'm not sure that anybody else does.
That's a great point. That's actually a really good, yeah. The question with the Phoenix Suns is, can they stop anybody? And can they get there to even play the Denver Nuggets in the meantime? Man, it's
I mean, so much of this playoffs is going to be who you see and when you see them, and it's why the whole question of the Lakers avoiding Denver has come up. I understand why it's being posed. I don't think the Lakers are so good, so much better than everybody and anybody that they would face in manipulating this situation.
Sure.
That it's worth the roll of the dice.
Sure. That makes complete sense. Butte, great stuff. Can't wait to see what happens with the play-in games. We'll talk again next week. Thanks for being our guest on Fox Sports Radio.
My pleasure, Doug.